Alright guys, back again. So let's talk about The Editor, which is a 2014 Giallo movie, which basically just is just as homages to every Giallo ever made. And I have not seen a million Giallos, but I have a feeling if I've seen a lot more, I would have noticed a lot of references as well, even though I did notice a lot from the ones I've seen, like the Dario Argentos, the Fulcis, the Bavas, like all those kind of movies. Like I noticed a lot of references too, but I know there's so many Giallos that I would probably find a lot more references, but this, The Editor, is really freaking cool. I was genuinely surprised at how awesome this movie was. I went into this not knowing anything except for it was a Giallo. I've seen images of it, like the image of the knife, like at that person at the projector. That's the only thing I saw in the movie before I saw it, and I love this movie. This was so freaking cool. I love the fact that it is, especially watching those Giallos, like I said, that I've seen from those more famous directors. Like I haven't really seen Giallos that aren't from other directors besides the big three that I mentioned. But the ones that I've seen, I love the fact that it made me notice all those references throughout. I loved how hilarious this was. This was one of the funniest comedies I've seen in a long time. And I just saw Coming to America recently, which I loved as well, which is a great comedy as well, and it's not horror, but it's Eddie Murphy, but it's great. And like I said, I'm glad that I've seen two comedies recently that I really loved, because this one was genuinely hilarious throughout. I love the fact, the first thing I'm going to mention, like in a horror movie, you've got to mention the gore, and the gore in this is outright fantastic, and it is insane. There is scenes of, like, for example, there's a girl getting her face, literally a guy just rips off this girl's face and just her skull, and she's just like screaming, and like it's such a great animatronic or practical effect. And then he's like, oh, I'll just put her face back, and then he just pushes the flesh on there, and then it cuts to the woman like with her face, and she's just like this, and I'm like, that is such a great joke. And again, the jokes and the gore work so well together. I also noticed that this movie has a lot of fingers getting cut off. This happens like a lot in the movie throughout. And there's just random stuff like that. Like that, the gore, I think, is just fantastic. The violence in this movie is just outrageous. But also the line reads in this genuinely crack my shit up. Because watching some of these, listening to some of these lines, I loved it because it felt like one of those giallos that I've seen where they're unintentionally hilarious. Like, for example, like House by the Cemetery, Fulci's House by the Cemetery, where that little kid, Bob, is like voiced by like a 40-year-old in the American dub, like that. Like, it was kind of jokes like that that felt similar in this, where it's just unintentionally hilarious with a lot of random lines of dialogue. There's a scene where they're watching a film reel of a movie being made, or a commercial, and then this guy is on top of a building like this with his arms, and he's like, I need a woman. And then there's a woman who just says, I'm a woman under all these clothes. And I just sat there and laughed out loud, because I'm like, what? Like, that's great, though. Great humor, because it's just so left field and random. There is a scene where there's two guys. It's like this, it's like where my chest is right now. It's like this on the screen. These two guys walk up to each other. There's a little scrawny guy, and he says, nice penis you got there, to this bigger guy. And then it does a cut, it zooms out of the shot, and then it shows that little guy with a penis that's, like, gigantic. And it was such a great joke, because it was just such a surprising joke. I didn't realize that they were going to do that. And I laughed out loud, because it was just such a great joke. And I loved whenever the guy who's in charge of I don't know what, not the director, or maybe it is the director, where he sees this woman who's part of the movie, and she's naked, and, like, he's like, no, cover those up. And they're obviously thinking of her boobs, and then she looks up, and it's not her breasts, and he's like, oh, not those. And, like, it's another thing that, like, she has to cover up. But I thought that was a good joke. And I liked how randomly in the background there's a lot of random jokes where, like, one where there's just a naked woman dancing, or, like, there's just random shit going on in the background. There's a great scene. So there's a main character who has this wife, and this wife is really annoying on purpose, like, and her acting is over the top, like, dubbed giallo kind of over the top, where this wife will be annoying and really angry to the husband, and she'll be like, I'm gonna start puking everywhere, like they're at a restaurant. And then this other guy who works with them just slaps the girl, slaps the wife, and then he said, I would have slapped you, but you're a man. I mean, a man slapping a man. Think of that. What would have happened if that happened? Like, imagine that. Like, that's a great joke as well. And I like how all those jokes just are so random, but they fit really well into the random weirdness of this movie. And I really like some visual details as well. I like whenever the main character goes into the film reel. Like, he sees the film stock bubble, like, on screen, and he tries to touch it. And then after that, he actually goes into the literal film strip, and, like, he's in it while a person's editing the movie. And I thought those kind of visuals made the movie even more memorable for being just really cool in that factor. I really like that as well. And then there is a weird-ass sex scene in this, where, like, these two characters, main guy and girl, having sex, but they're doing foreplay, and the foreplay is... I had to write this down because this is so ridiculous. They're, like, throwing glass. You can hear glass break. At one moment, the guy has a holster on his chest. He's got a gun, and then it cuts away. And then, like, he smashes cake onto boobs, and then they have a chainsaw during sex, and, like, it's just so funny. And it's hard for me to explain it because it's one of those jokes that you've just got to see for yourself, because I'm not going to do justice with the jokes. I really thought the jokes were hilarious in this as well. And I just really like that. And I like, too, I won't say what it is, but of course it's a giallo. It's a mystery movie, like who's the killer, and whenever the killer reveal happens, it is really good and really fun. And I liked where that went. I thought that was awesome. And like I said, it just, visually it's fantastic. Gore is incredible. The humor is incredible. It is just ridiculous with how much humor and gore is in this. Like, it is extremely over the top, but it's my cup of tea. Like, I love these kind of movies. So, I'm finally glad I got to see The Editor. This was a great one. So, pretty much that's all I could say today for the review for The Editor. So, that's it. And I'll be up with another review soon. So, thanks, guys. See you later.